Thank you, Mr. President. I want to rise and discuss the issue that is associated with a piece of legislation that presently is before City Council, and that is ordinance number 1446-13. That is an ordinance that was introduced 2 years ago. It is an ordinance that deals with the issue of transgender discrimination. And there's two ways I want to deal with this in my short time, Mr. Chairman. That is, number one, the merits of the issue. The idea of transgender populations believing and receiving a certain type of response in our community, the merits of the issue. And the second, what I'd like to raise is just their access to government and the process within government relative to them being able to be heard fairly and being able to speak to their issues. There is across this country this issue that is growing more and more, and that is the issue of transgender identity. There is so many individuals that still don't understand why this is even an issue. There are folks who think this is just a sideshow. But the fact of the matter is, those who are assigned a certain gender, who don't feel that gender as they grow and they develop, have been discriminated against and have been victims of violence throughout this country. For a lot of us in this room and across our city, within our neighborhoods, folks don't understand that reality. They figure if you're born a male, you are supposed to be a male. If you're born a female, then you are female. Throughout our society over the years, we began to get used to the idea of a man with a man or a woman with a woman. It took years to get to the point of being able to allow them to get married under the law. Now, another civil rights issue is before this council and before this mayor. We chose to have a law that was not fully inclusive relative to public accommodations. We chose to carve out a certain segment of our population, a minority, but yet citizens of Cleveland and in the region. We chose to not acknowledge that the transgender population should not have the same rights as race, national origin, and others. Fully inclusive non-discrimination laws. They exist in 200 cities and counties across this country. They exist in Columbus and Cincinnati and Dayton. They exist in Detroit, LA. They exist in cities that have people like you and me who have been elected to make decisions that they made a different decision. Non-discrimination laws, fully inclusive. So if we don't lead in this area, then we cannot bring our citizens along the way to acceptance of folks who yet was born with one gender but is another gender in reality. Some of us don't want to take the time to understand that. I have worked real hard to understand it. I don't need Bruce Jenner to show me how important this issue is. Caitlyn Jenner now. I don't need Laverne Cox to just tell me, simply because I watch Orange is the Next Black, that transgender folks exist and they are credible, they are real people. They get killed, they commit suicide. One Ohioan named Leila Alcorn, before she killed herself, wrote a note to all of us when she said, "We need to fix society, and I hope my death will lead there." Throughout our country, we have young people who live within a gender that they cannot at all accept, while society does not accept the choice that they want to make. We have had within the City Council a piece of legislation, 1446-13, 2 years ago. On October 21st, it was introduced into this body. It received one hearing and it has not received anything since. Perhaps we just hope that through our silence they would just go away. Perhaps we don't recognize that they have as much right to the access of government and to be able to be heard and their issue to be voted on, but maybe we just hope that in our silence they would just go away. I know some of y'all don't support it. I hear the whispers in the hallways. I hear the true facts behind closed doors. I know who's with what and whose position. I know that in the silence of the hallways, your position is clear, but in the public glaring transparency of the spotlight, you're silent. These folks deserve a vote. These folks deserve us, all 18 of us, to make a position. As 17 council member and the mayor of this city, we owe them to be heard and to be voted on. To leave this in the workforce committee's box, to ignore these folks, to ignore this issue that many other cities have taken forth, is not fair. These people deserve, these individuals, these citizens deserve to be heard. They are victims. The problem is not them threatening a transgender woman, threatening a woman in the bathroom. The problem is that they're the ones who are the victims. They're the ones that society cannot deal with to a point where they commit violence. We need to protect them. So, Mr. Chairman, I ask of my colleagues to come out of the dark and silence on this issue. The mayor, to come out of the dark in the silence of this issue. Be accountable. Tell these folks where you stand. Bring it to a vote. Workforce committee, finance committee, this council. 1446-13, 2 years. They've worked all summer. They talked to clergy. They talked to citizens. They've tried hard. They've done the work. Now let us do the work. God, thank you very much. God bless you.